Hello everybody, freaking Blazing Sphinx here. Welcome to another What If. Now, I'm going to temporarily stop my What If Naruto was blessed by the gods, and I'm gonna most of the time I'm gonna try to do at least 2 what ifs at a time, because some people think it's boring just waiting for just having one what if. I don't know why, because always got something to look forward to. And since I upload every weekend, or try to at least, I'm gonna do 2. So I can make one episode on Saturday and one on Sunday, or one on Friday and one on Saturday, But yeah, this is what if. Hold up. So this is what if Grandpa Gohan was trained by King Kai. So let me give you a little background. So when Grandpa Gohan was in his prime, which is the picture next to him, that isn't King Kai, of course, he was a very good fighter. And King Kai noticed this, and you know how King Kai be having those tournaments in the Kai realm, I guess, like how Goku had first fought that one guy, that green guy, not Piccolo, Pecan, I think his name was, or something like that. Yeah, so when King Kai seen how strong Grandpa Gohan was, or just Gohan in this sense, he was like, let me train this guy. So he trained him for too long, because Gohan had then given up fighting, or Grandpa, yeah. So I'm just refer to him as Gohan. Yeah, I'm just gonna continue to refer to him as Gohan. But yeah, so Gohan is he kind of was over fighting and decided to become a teacher instead. So after he was done with his training with King Kai, which didn't really go on for too long, he only had a power level of 1,200. And after he stopped training and more teaching, he then lowered his power level. His power level then went lower as he got older. So, but it's not that low. He's pretty strong. His power level is 400. So, this means Goku, even in his Ozara form, wouldn't really cause much trouble to Gohan, like Grandpa Gohan, when Goku does turn into his Ozara form. But yeah, now let me check the what if. So, far away on a distant planet, there are these beings with tails. These beings are known as the Sands. And there's one Sand that has spiky hair, and this Sand's name is Bardock. The Sand is walking, and it looks like he's heading to his home, where he greets his wife. But before he can say anything else, he starts telling her about how Frieza, the person they rule under, or that rules over them, is flying his ship towards the planet, and he thinks that Frieza's gonna try to destroy it. So he asks Gine, his wife, if he could send his son off to a different planet. She has to think about this since that's her son. And she would then agree with Bardock, and they would put their son in a space pod. And when they went to go get their son, Bardock's scouter was looking at the boy, and the boy's power level went from 5 to 10. Bardock would sigh, seeing as he thought it would have been a massive increase. But his son is still weak compared to the other Saiyans. But that doesn't matter to him, because he knows his son is going to get strong. Well, at least he hopes. So they send their son off to a distant planet that has no high power levels. Well, from what they've seen. And when Frieza finally makes it to the planet, Bardock's assumptions were right, and Frieza would then destroy the planet. And as the space pod they sent the boy off in flies through space, it then lands on this planet filled with water and leaves and trees. This planet is known as Earth. Earth. And when his pod lands, he starts to cry, seeing as there's no one with him. He's all by himself and he's a baby. So Grandpa Gohan will then hear his cries and pick him up and take him home with him, seeing as there's no parents around. So as he takes the boy back to his house, he would then raise this boy for a couple of years. And then over the years he raised him, he would also train him, as he seen Goku was a very energetic child and he was always in love with fighting. So by the time Goku is 7, Goku has now had power level of 70. And no, actually, I'm not really gonna do 70. I'm gonna keep him at his power level at 10, just because Grandpa Gohan wouldn't fight him. He would just have him do workouts or teach him how to use certain fighting styles. But Goku wasn't really good with learning these fighting styles. So Grandpa Gohan would pat Goku on the head and say, well, why don't you try making up your own fighting style? And when Goku hears Grandpa Gohan say this, his eyes sparkle a little bit and he runs off to go train by himself. Now we're going to skip to, the time when Goku had turned into an Ozaru. So Goku just wanders outside and he looks up and in his eyes he sees the full moon. He would then grow into a large ape, bringing his power level to 100. Grandpa Gohan would look at Goku and he would then start to fight the Ozaru. Now Grandpa Gohan has a higher power level, but he is smaller and old. So he does get a couple of scratches and bruises. But overall he's okay after beating the Ozaru. And to beat the Ozaru, he really had to dodge his attacks and then run up his arms as if it was a boss fight in the video game. But after this, Grandpa Gohan sees this as a strength and wants to have Goku embrace it instead of just keep it away. And Grandpa Gohan, he thinks to himself and if I do embrace this power, he might become even stronger than I am now. So he would grab his Dragon Ball and set off on an adventure with Goku to get the others. So they have left a little bit earlier than when Bulma had went to see them. So they ended up running into Bulma though on a journey that to her place, because she already has a Dragon Ball. She already had I'm gonna say she has 2. One, she's at her place. At her place she has 2, so she has to get more. That's why she went to Grandpa Gohan's place in the first place. That's a lot of place. But so when they went to her house, they seen that it was a home. So they ended up talking to Bulma's parents and then Bulma herself. And they're like, yo, we're looking for orbs that look like this. Yeah. And he didn't want to tell them excuse me, that they have powers to grant any wish, because he didn't know if they would try to use it for their own self gain in a bad way too. So he's just kept it a secret. And them seeing that it's just some orbs that they thought just belonged to the man before. They instantly just gave it to him, seeing as they could pretty much buy an orb or get a replica made, since they're pretty wealthy. But Bulma actually wants to go on the adventure with them. So her parents let her do so. And she then joins Goku and Grandpa Gohan. So, Goku is now, like, over the journeys he did train a little bit with Grandpa Gohan. And his power level has raised to 30. And Grandpa Gohan hasn't raised much, but he went from 500 to 510. And Goku has even developed his own fighting style. It's like he pretty much does like wild attacks, unpredictable attacks, and he like it's hard to predict his moves, and his moveset revolves a lot around faking people out. Like he'll like pretend he's going for a punch and then actually like go for a kick. So yeah. And so I'm gonna do a time skip to where they find all the Dragon Balls, because in this time, like, all the people that had the Dragon Balls in the first place, before they could get to them, they don't have them, because they only started got them when Goku was 12 and they had first met. But since this is a little earlier, and a couple of years earlier, none of them have them, and they're like just scattered around the place, like around Earth. So they ended up finding them, and Goku by this time has reached a power level of 70, and Grandpa Gohan a power level of 530. And so when Grandpa Gohan gets all the Dragon Balls together, he would then wish for freaking his youth back, so eternal youth to be exact. So he would then revert to that stage of him. I can't zoom into it for some reason, but yeah. And his power level was raised from 530 all the way up to 730. Seeing as after he stopped fighting, his power level slowly got lower, and then he got old too. So yeah, now he's only at a 700. And so Goku can like feel the power from Grandpa Gohan and wants to train with Grandpa Gohan and have a little sparring match. So Grandpa Gohan gets in a fighting stance and suppresses his power greatly. And they begin to fight. Goku would dash at Grandpa Gohan and try to hit him with an uppercut, which Grandpa Gohan would dodge. But midair, Goku would then switch into a kick and kick Grandpa Gohan in the face. But this wouldn't do much. Well, is he really a grandpa now? Because he has youth back. So he would kick Gohan in the face, and Gohan would fly back. No, I'm playing. I meant Goku would then get thrown by freaking Gohan, and Goku would fly. My bad. And when Goku touched the ground, he landed on the ground and started sliding backwards. So he had to put both his hands on the ground so he could stop sliding. And he would then throw his arms behind him and start running, almost like a Naruto run, I guess. And Grandpa Gohan would then, oh my god, I keep calling him Grandpa Gohan. Gohan would then throw a kick at him, which Goku would dodge. And then Goku would go in for another uppercut, which Grandpa Gohan would see through this. I'm just keep calling him Grandpa Gohan, bro, because I can't. But Grandpa Gohan would see through this and block the punch, delivering a knee straight to Goku's stomach. And Goku would fly back a bit, rolling on the ground. But Goku would get back up. He would then run back at Grandpa Gohan and turn around and do like a handstand kick off the ground, hitting Grandpa Gohan in his stomach. And after this, Goku would then put his feet back on the ground and do a flip backwards, kicking the top of Grandpa Gohan's head. And Grandpa Gohan would barely feel any of this. He would then kick Goku, and Goku would hit a tree. Then Goku would rush back at Grandpa Gohan and try to throw a bunch of punches at him and kick. But Grandpa Gohan would dodge all these attacks and then deliver one final blow to Goku, knocking him out. So Grandpa Gohan would pick up Goku and they would walk off. And I'm going to do time skip. So Bulma's at her house because it's been a couple years, so she's just chilling at her house. And this is Goku and Grandpa Gohan are, at the little house. And Grandpa Gohan has actually increased his power level from 700 to 750. And Goku has an immense power boost over the years and has a power level of 300 now. So Grandpa Gohan would then look at Goku and tell him to stay inside since the full moon was out again. And Goku would do so as he knows what the Ozaru transformation is, because Grandpa Gohan tries to get him to learn how to control it. But now that freaking Goku has a power level of 300, if he was to go into his Ozaru form, there would be nothing that Gohan could do about it. So now, on a world surrounded by yellow clouds, and a blue man would emerge from a house. This man was King Kai. King Kai would then start talking to Gohan in his mind. And Gohan would then, they would then have a conversation about, how's everything been. And King Kai was like, do you still remember how to use the Kaioken? And, this just, lit a spark in Gohan's head. He's like, I do have that technique, don't I? So, after a little more talking, Grandpa Gohan goes to get Goku. And he says, we're going to do some Ozaru training. Well, he doesn't actually say that. He says ape training, because he doesn't know it's called the Ozaru. But, yeah, I'm going to just call it the Ozaru training just because it's easier for me to remember instead of saying ape training. Yeah. So Goku would go outside and look at the full moon, and he would try to resist his urge to get controlled by the Ozaru form, which he is kind of doing because he's restraining himself a bit. So instead of using his full power level of 3,000, he's only using 2,500 because he's trying to hold it back. But if he didn't have to hold back, then he would be able to use his 3,000. But yeah, he's holding it back, so he's only using 2,500 of his power. And Grandpa Gohan then start to stretch because he hasn't used the Kaioken in a long time, and he would yell, Kaioken times 3. His power would go from 700 to 700. No, sorry. He would have to use Kaioken times 4. So he yells Kaioken times 4. Boom. His power goes from 700 to 2,800 or 2,800. So he is 300 levels above Goku in this sense. But Goku could still win if he catches him slipping. So Grandpa Gohan would then rush at I keep almost saying Naruto, bro. He would rush at Goku, and Goku would throw a punch at Grandpa Gohan, but Gohan would jump out of the way and then jump onto his arm again, like he did the first time he fought him. He would run up his arm, and when Goku tried to slap him off with his other arm, Grandpa Gohan would switch arms and go to the other one. And Grandpa Gohan knows how to use ki from, King Kai, so he builds up a ki blast in his hand and shoots it at the side of Goku's head. which distracted him long enough where Gohan could get up to his face and boom, punches him straight in his cheek. But this would anger Goku, and Goku would, for a split second, be in full control of the body and grab Grandpa Gohan, throwing him to the ground. Then Grandpa Gohan, before he hit the ground, would do a flip and land on his feet. He would then run in between Goku's legs and grab his tail and start pulling him. And Grandpa Gohan is really strong since he was doing a lot of training with King Kai, so he's like really physically strong. And he was pulling Goku back, which made Goku turn around and build up like a version of the beam, like the Ozaru beam, but it was like a ball instead. And Goku shot it at Grandpa Gohan. And Grandpa Gohan would charge up a ki blast, shoot it, and it would burst into many little ki blasts. And this was just barely enough to disperse the attack. Goku would then start to walk over to Gohan, and Gohan would run at the Ozaru Goku and jump high into the air, shooting 2 ki blasts at Goku's chest, which did nothing but angered the boy more. Goku would then throw a punch at Grandpa Gohan, which Gohan would block, but gets sent falling into some trees. But from the trees, a bunch of tiny ki blasts would be fired at Goku. And this was Grandpa Gohan using his scatter beam. And these ones hurt more than the ki blasts, because it's a pretty strong attack. And they're stronger than the ki blast, yeah, so. Boom. This makes Goku think that Grandpa Gohan was still in where he had thrown him. But wow, Goku had walked over there. Grandpa Gohan had snuck behind the Ozaru and climbed up his back. And while he was on his back, he delivered one punch to the back of Goku's head, knocking him out. And I'm going to do one last time skip. And this is for when, like a month later, when Bulma comes back to them and like starts asking for the Dragon Balls. But they're like, we don't got the Dragon Balls. And Gohan is pretty tired. He doesn't really want to go on another adventure as it is right now. And he thinks it could be a good experience for like Goku to meet new people. Because on their first adventure, they didn't really meet anybody. But he hopes on this one, Goku will meet someone. And this person will make him grow stronger. So, pretty much everything from here to oh yeah, the collecting of the Dragon Balls actually goes pretty easy since Goku is a lot stronger in this version, and he freaking after they got all the Dragon Balls and stuff, and Yamcha basically stole the wish because he ran off and Goku couldn't catch him. They would all then, return back to their homes, but freaking Goku now knows Roshi. So when he goes home to Gohan, he's like, Grandpa Gohan, do you know Master Roshi? And Gohan literally taught Roshi, so he's like, yeah, I know him. Like, yeah, that's my one of my students. So then Grandpa Gohan and Goku go to Roshi, and all 3 of them start training for the next couple of months. Hold up, I'll be back. Let me show you guys all the power increases. So, over the training, Grandpa Gohan went to power level 800, and with the Kaioken Senpai, he goes to 4,000. Goku has a power level of 400. With the Ozaru form, he goes to 4,000. And Roshi has power level 250. But with the buff mode, that will take him up to 400, just like Goku's base. But then he also got taught the Kaioken from Grandpa Gohan, which then boosts him up to 800, which is Grandpa Gohan's base power. And their training isn't as effective because they have to try to lower themselves to Roshi's rate so he can keep up, since he's a lot older than them. Since, yeah, Grandpa Gohan already has his youth. So Grandpa Gohan looks at Roshi and he's like, what if we, like, gave you your youth? Like, what if we wished for you to have eternal youth? And, you know, Master Roshi liked this idea. First, he could probably flirt with more girls. And two, because he would actually be able to keep up with the two. So, Grandpa Gohan and Roshi go off just by themselves together to go get the Dragon Balls once again. And Goku is left by himself to train, which he does. He does a bunch of push-ups, sit-ups, and even pull-ups every day. Until one day, a bald boy came to the island, and he was claiming that he was like a master at martial arts. So Goku was like, all right, let me test you. So he gets into his fighting stance, and Krillin does the same. And Krillin would run straight at Goku and try to throw a punch at Goku. But Goku would literally just grab his fist and slam him into the ground. This would knock Krillin straight out, because in this, Krillin's power level will be, Krillin's power level is a whopping 210, which is 190 points away from Goku, and Goku has way more fighting experience. But they train over the couple of days that Roshi and Grandpa Gohan are gone. And when they get back, Krillin and Goku's power levels have increased from Goku's from 400 to 450, and Krillin's from 210 to 300. Because they were gone for a couple of days, and Krillin increased more than Goku because Goku was way stronger. But yeah. And he's starting to close the gap little by little, because first the gap was 190 away, but now it's 150 away. And so does Grandpa Gohan's power level, but not by much, because they didn't do much training. It only increases by 50. But for freaking Roshi, it increases by 100, so he gets up to 350. So now, I gotta rewrite these power levels. Be right back. So with these new power levels, everyone is way stronger than Krillin, even in their base forms. So Gohan offers to teach Krillin the Kaioken, but Krillin isn't interested in that. He's interested in Roshi's buff mode, and he asks Roshi to teach him the buff mode. Seeing as Krillin, he's a little naive and thinks that muscles makes you strong. So he thinks that Roshi is the strongest of them all, which kind of isn't, but yeah. If you think about it, really, Goku is the strongest in terms of power level, but Gohan is the strongest, like, if they were to fight. Especially, like, because even if he was losing to Goku in his Ozaru, he would probably push himself to use a Kaioken times 6. And that he would probably last long enough just to barely beat Goku, and then, you know. But, yeah. So, Krillin asked Roshi to teach him that. And Roshi would teach him that, but it would take him a couple of weeks. And after these weeks pass, Krillin now has the buff mode, which boosts his power. And, his power level is 350, just as well as Roshi's, but what Roshi used to be, because now Roshi's gonna put him at 400, and Goku and Grandpa Gohan surely aren't gonna let them catch up. And we're training Gohan, bro. They both increase massively. Dang it, I just realized that means more. Freak. And, yeah, so these are the new power levels. And Grandpa Gohan can sense ki, because he learned this from King Kai. So, he pretty much, he knows that he's going to have to train his body to use the higher multipliers of Kaioken if he wants to keep up with Goku and actually be a good training partner for him. So he goes off by himself to train. So only Goku, Roshi, and Krillin are training together. But actually they stopped midway through their training because they just didn't feel like it was right to train without Gohan. So while Gohan's off training, he actually boosts his Kaioken multiplier, but he doesn't really boost his power level. So he stays at a 950, but his Kaioken multiplier actually goes up to 7 times. So now he can use a Kaioken times 7. And freaking, yeah. So now that Gohan is stronger, he's actually a very great partner for Goku, because his power level will now he is significantly stronger than Goku. And I didn't say greatly because he's just significantly stronger than Goku by 150. And then Grandpa Gohan and Roshi would tell Krillin and Goku about the Tenkaichi Budokai, which they would both enter. And so would the two, Grandpa Gohan and Roshi. Oh, and Roshi did get his wish for youth. So now they're both in their prime and much stronger. But as it stands, Grandpa Gohan is the strongest, Goku is the second strongest, Roshi after Goku, and then Krillin. Now, let me address one more thing before I get into the Tenkaichi Budokai. Raditz is weaker than every single one of them other than Roshi and Krillin. So if Goku were to fight Raditz, he would probably wash him. So for this fact, I'm going to make Raditz have more, Vegeta and Raditz, have more respect for each other. Well, no, Vegeta has more respect for Raditz and actually trains with him. So Raditz is going to be at a higher power level because I don't want it to be a boring fight, But, alright, anyway, so everything in the Tenkaichi Budokai pretty much goes the same, but in the semifinals, it's Roshi versus Gohan, and then Krillin versus Goku. Now, Krillin actually thinks he stands a chance because he doesn't think Goku would go into his Ozaru form in front of all these people, which Goku would, but he won't, because either way, Goku is still stronger than Krillin. So Krillin instantly goes into his buff form and would try to land a punch on Goku, but Goku would dodge. Krillin would then throw up massive, charged up punches as he charged them up with ki, and a ki orb would surround them because he learned how to use ki from Grandpa Gohan and Roshi. And he would start throwing punches at Goku. And Goku would say, "You're pretty strong now, Krillin, but you're still not stronger than me." And around Goku's fist, it would, the ki would, morph into, the face of a wolf. around his fist. So he would then freaking I forgot what I was gonna say. He would then he would then clash fists with Krillin, and his attacks are a lot stronger. The only thing that's keeping Krillin from flying off the little ring is that he's in his buff form, so he's a lot heavier, and he punches harder than Goku. But when he throws one more punch at Goku, Goku would narrowly dodge this attack, and the attack would just skim his hair, and he would deliver a large uppercut to Krillin, and this will be Krillin's downfall, because when Goku hit him, he wouldn't stop. Goku would then kick him in the gut, slam both of his fists onto Krillin's back, and before Krillin could even hit the ground, he would then knee him in the chin and put both his hands together and yell, Ka me ha me. And by the time he's about to finish his sentence and shoot the key beam, like Krillin just barely fades back into like being able to render what's happening, and he just narrowly dodges the Kamehameha wave. But when he dodged, he jumped off the ring or the mat, so therefore Goku wins by a ring out finish, I guess. And I forgot to put this part. Sorry, but Master Roshi gets washed even when he uses his buff mode as Kaioken, because Grandpa Gohan in his base still has more experience than Roshi, so he utterly pops him. Yeah. And this is the one that Yamcha was in. Like, he was in this tournament too. So, yeah. Let me put Yamcha in this. And Yamcha is actually weaker than Krillin. So, his power level only at, like, I'm going to be generous and give him a power level of 300. But since he doesn't really know any of the techniques that can boost his multiplier, he doesn't beat Krillin. But like, if it was base to base, he would beat Krillin because he has the size advantage and technique advantage. But yeah, Krillin in his buff mode is just a little too strong for him. So after Grandpa Gohan and then Goku would meet in the finals, and they would both go to their full forms off the bat. Grandpa Gohan would yell, Kaioken times 7, boosting his power massively. And Goku, now in control of his Ozaru, would launch a power ball or a artificial moon, because he realized the moon isn't always going to be up. So he had created a move, kind of like Vegeta's move that he used, but it doesn't drain as much stamina as Vegeta's does. So Goku would then fight Grandpa Gohan, and they would clash. And Grandpa Gohan would be keeping up with Goku's punches, and they would clash fists. And then Grandpa Gohan can fly now, because he learned how to fly. And Goku still can't freaking fly yet, because I like to make all my characters learn how to fly when they get like past their base level past 1,000. And he's pretty much there at 1,000, so I just, counted it. And Kaioken is like his base, but it isn't. It's kind of hard to explain. So he knows how to fly, and Roshi's almost there to fly, because the buff mode is kind of like their base too. But he's learning. So as they're clashing fists, Grandpa Gohan would like fly away from Goku, and he would start charging an attack. In his hands, three green orbs would like circle around his hands, and he would say, "Total annihilation." As the three orbs would then launch at friggin' Goku, and Goku would then prepare a hyper beam, as I like to call it, and the six orbs would expand into large orbs, and they would be trying to push Goku's hyper beam back, which they are successfully doing for the most part. But then Goku starts to use all his energy and pushes the orbs back. And Grandpa Gohan, not wanting to lose to his own student, he would then launch a scatter blast, giving it enough push to push the orbs into Goku's stomach, knocking Goku out. So, after Goku got, fixed up and stuff, his power level would have increased from 650 all the way up to 800. And that's just lowballing it, because he took a pretty bad beating, because Grandpa Gohan's really strong. But this would boost his power to this. And Grandpa Gohan would actually get stronger from this as well, boosting his base power to 1,000. And that means when he is Kaioken times 7, he's at 7,000. Which is now less than Goku. So if he was to fight Goku again, he would lose. And Roshi is kind of like, dang, I'm getting beat by a kid. Like, this kid is leagues above me. And Yamcha would kind of feel this way too. And Krillin would just be mad because Goku is supposed to be his rival, but yet he's not even close to his power. And that's just where I'm going to end this.